Hello, and welcome to a quick extra lesson in pre-calculus. This week we are doing our next boss battle. For those not familiar with our class, that's our next summative assessment. And since we're doing it through Google Classroom, I wanted to quickly show you how to use the Google equation editor, which you may choose to use when submitting your work. Alternatively, you may instead do your work on paper, take pictures, and then attach it into the document on Google Classroom, whichever is your preference. I'm going to start sharing my screen here. And here we go. You will see now that I have this how to use the equation editors document already open with an example that says completely factor the equation k of x equals negative x to the fifth plus 8x cubed minus 16x, and then list all zeros and their multiplicities. We're not going to completely go through this entire question. It's actually one that we worked out in the last video from this unit. So you're welcome to go and jump over there if you'd like to see it worked out step by step. But for now, I'm going to say that the first step, because you should always annotate when you're writing your work, is factoring out the GCF. Which in this case would be a negative x. So I'm going to come up to where it says insert, and then down to where it says equation. And then it's going to give me a lot of different options. Most of these you won't have to worry about using, but I do want to talk through a few of them. So this new bar is where we have, there's the insert equation, which is what we're doing. Greek letters, this would be very useful if we were working on trigonometry, for example. Here are a lot of the symbols, like for multiplication, division, plus or minus, minus or plus. There's also some different operators that you wouldn't necessarily see, like the cross product and the dot product until you're in a college level class, as well as other letters like aleph, which is used to denote different forms of infinity. The infinity symbol itself, a right angle intersection, set inclusion, many different things that we don't cover in pre-calculus. You'll also find an abundance of inequality symbols. Then you'll see quick ways to enter fractions, different roots, different exponents, things like unions and intersections. And this last one has different directional arrows that do come up in math, but not the math that we're doing. In college, I frequently collaborated with peers on group math projects using Google Docs, and a lot of these symbols were very useful in that time. Even in physics lab reports, it was useful. Anyways, to come back over here, most of what we're going to be doing in pre-calc, we can just type. So I'll do negative x, and then parentheses, what's going to be left over? Well, it would be x to the fourth. You'll notice that I just went up to the exponent. I'm going to exit the equation editor for a second because the button that I hit on my keyboard, so to make exponent, type this button. It's called a caret. I'm not sure why it's called a caret. Maybe because if you turn it upside down, it kind of looks like a carrot, but it's spelled the wrong way for that. I don't know. Anyways, to create the caret, you generally hold Shift and the number 6. So Shift 6 gives you the caret, and in the equation editor, that will move you up into the exponent. So the exponent here after we factor out negative x would be 4. Then because we factored out a negative sign, we would have minus 8x squared. Again, hitting that caret button, drawing the 2. One thing to be careful about, which is a mistake I've made many times, is if I just keep typing plus 16, notice that it's still in the exponent. So in order to move out of that, either have to manually click next to it, so you'll see that the cursor there became taller, or you can just use the arrow keys to move back and forth between the exponent and the and the not exponent, I guess. I don't know if there's a special name for that. Anyways, let me finish typing plus 16 there. And then because I open parentheses, I should also close parentheses. We could keep going. The next step would be to use the Xbox method. This is going to be a little harder, if even possible, to show. So you don't necessarily need to draw in the X itself and the box, but you could just say use the Xbox method to obtain, and then we have, again, equation editor. Once you click on it for the first time, you should be able to come up here and just hit insert equation as a shorthand. And then we'll have negative x carrying down that first factor. X squared, do I remember? Yes, it was, I believe, negative 4 and then x squared minus 4. So again, like as long as you say like that's how you got this next line, and then write the work, it'll be pretty clear that you did what was needed on the outside. And then you would just continue until you are finished. Most of this should be pretty straightforward. Make sure you include labels and units when needed, especially in application problems. Aside from that, hopefully you feel pretty confident using the equation editor. If you're still unsure about it, like I said, you can also just copy and paste pictures of your work into the document with the summative, and then upload that when you are finished. And then I guess anything, even though it's the wrong unit for probability, may the odds be ever in your favor. And remember to check me out on Zoom if you need to ask any questions. That is one of the allowed resources for this boss battle.